you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Living the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream.
What up, Dream Team? Coach D here coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego, and welcome back to the Living the Dream podcast, where we're going to kickstart the week off with the right mindset to conquer your goals and to live your dream life. And today's topic, the phrase that I hear all too often: I don't have time. I don't have time. Whether it's for fitness, whether it's for eating better, nurturing relationships, pursuing hobbies, or just having fun. This is one of the biggest challenges that I see people facing. Let me say this up front. I get it. I really do. Life is busy. Between work, between family, social commitments, and everything else, it can feel like there's just no room left. But here's the thing. Time isn't something that we find. It's something that we make. We don't find time. We have to make time. And today, I want to help you take back control of your schedule. I want to help you align your priorities with your goals. And I want to help you become the CEO of your own health and life. And by the end of this episode, you'll have actionable strategies to not just make time for what's important, but to make it work for your unique lifestyle. So let's dive in. Let's start with empathy, because the challenge is real. For most of us, life is a juggling act. If you're working a demanding job, if you're raising kids, if you're managing responsibilities for aging parents, your plate is probably overflowing. Some of you may feel so stretched thin that even squeezing in 5 minutes for yourself feels impossible. And it's true. Everyone's life circumstances are different. What feels manageable for one person might feel absolutely impossible for another. But here's the reality, and you've heard it all the time. We all get 24 hours in a day. Here's the key difference. How we choose to spend those hours is the difference. And before you roll your eyes and think, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, I want you to hear this with compassion. I don't have time is often another way of saying that this isn't my priority right now. This isn't a priority for me. And that's okay. We can only do so many things. But if your health, if your relationships, or your passions matter to you, it's time to reflect and take a little responsibility for our choices. Here's a mindset shift that changed my life. Stop thinking about time management and start thinking about priority management. Think about it this way. If someone handed you $24 every day, and said, this is all that you get to spend until tomorrow, you'd probably think really carefully about where that money goes, right? That's exactly how our time works. Every hour you spend on something is an hour you can't spend on something else. So the question becomes, what deserves my time? If your health, fitness, relationships, or hobbies aren't in your schedule, it's not because you don't have time. It's because they're not being prioritized. And let me be clear, this isn't about guilt or shame. This is a very, very hard thing to do. It's more about awareness and then empowerment. When you identify what matters most, then you can start creating some space for it. Before we jump into solutions, let's address some really common barriers, some obstacles, some challenges. These are real challenges that make prioritizing time harder for a lot of people. First, overcommitting, saying yes to everything, leaves no time for yourself. Number two, lack of clarity, not knowing what your priorities are. That can lead to wasted time. Number three is perfectionism, wasting time just waiting for the perfect time or the ideal conditions to start something. Number 4 is decision fatigue, spending way too much time deciding what to do instead of just doing it. And the 5th one that I see all the time is energy management, feeling just too exhausted to take action, even when you have time. If any of those resonate with you, you're not alone. So we're going to go into each of those a little bit more in depth. Let's talk about solutions. The first challenge of overcommitting your schedule. Many people pack their days with back-to-back obligations. They have work meetings, they got kids' activities, they got social events, and that just leaves no room for themselves. The lack of white space in a calendar can make it feel impossible to prioritize your health, your fitness, or your self-care. Parents are shuttling their kids around between sports and school and extracurriculars and your job. People that are working, they work 10-hour days and they're answering emails into the night. Students are balancing academic part-time jobs and social lives. It's a lot. Why it's a challenge for most people is our culture often equates busyness with productivity or value. A fear of saying no or setting boundaries leads to overcommitting. And external expectations from family, friends, or employers, just having that on your shoulders, it can feel overwhelming. Those with really strong boundaries may say, why don't you just say no? Or just make time for what matters, as if it's easy. While their advice is valid, it can lack empathy for the complexity of other people's lives. A devil's advocate argument, you signed up for this, you just need to hustle harder. This really ignores the need for balance, for mental health, and the reality that people often overcommit due to societal pressure or even lack of support. It's usually not laziness. So here's some actionable tips for overcommitting. Time block your non-negotiables. You have to schedule it in and do it in advance. Schedule your workouts. Schedule when you have to meal prep. Schedule your downtime like you would any other meeting. Treat them as unmissable appointments. Use a planner or use an app to visually block out your day, ensuring personal priorities that won't be crowded out. For me, I like to journal the night before. I like to time block everything. On the left side of my paper, I've talked about this. I write down all the things that I want to do that day. And on the right side, I start sliding those things into time blocks. Sometimes I can stack multiple things into the same time block because they're very, they're similar. Other times I have to count in all the travel time. I have to make sure that I am doing the things that make sense when it comes to logistics. So, I can't go this way because it's going west for 20 minutes when I could go this way and I need to go east. So I have to make sure that I plan that. All the things that are appointments, like training clients or coaching classes or meetings on Zoom, I have those blocked in, non-negotiables, but I also have in my workouts, when I'm going to eat, all those other things that are really important to me, my self-care time. So that's number 1, time block your non-negotiables. Number 2, you have to learn to say no, but maybe learn to say no with a little compassion. Practice responses like, I'd love to help you here, but I just have a lot of stuff on my plate right now. Maybe in the future, we can come back to this and we can talk about when it's a better time. Just recognizing that saying no to one thing is saying yes to something more important later. And number 3 is audit your commitments. Write down everything that you're currently responsible for. Identify what's essential. And then maybe identify some things that can be delegated. Identify some things that can be delayed and put off, or maybe even some things that can be dropped completely. Time block, learn to say no with compassion, and audit your commitments. Those are all 3 actionable tips that will help you with overcommitting. The next challenge, lack of energy. By the time most people get home, they are exhausted. I get it. The idea of working out, of meal prepping, of doing a special on the side hobby, no way. That feels impossible when just getting through the day was as draining as it was. a parent collapsing on the couch after chasing toddlers all day, an employee too mentally fatigued after work to even consider cooking a meal and just ordering out on Uber Eats, someone with chronic fatigue feeling guilty about their lack of productivity, but stuck because they have just no energy. It's usually a challenge for most people because of things that they're not doing for themselves. Things like poor sleep, which compounds and compounds and compounds. Nutrition, what you fuel your body with will give you the energy for you to do what you need to do. Stress management, things just piling up mentally in your brain, creating this cycle of low energy, not focusing on the pillars of health. It's a negative feedback loop that will give you less and less energy. Prioritizing the pillars of health, giving you more energy. It's a snowball rolling downhill that creates momentum and builds into more momentum. Society undervalues rest, and I am a perfect example of this. This is something that I have to work with consciously every single day. Just society pushing people to keep going, do more, be better until burnout. Some people say, you just need to push through. You're going to get through it. Just get it done. You'll be fine. But ignoring the body's need for rest leads to burnout and often makes the problem even worse. 3 actionable tips. Start small. Start so small and then build momentum. Dr. Rangan Chatterjee wrote a really good book called Feel Better in 5. And he talks about how when he goes downstairs in the morning, first thing in the morning, he likes to brew tea. And he knows that his tea is going to take 5 minutes to brew. So what does he do? He puts a kettlebell right beside his tea maker, and he does a 5-minute workout with that kettlebell. His wife complains about the kettlebell being in the kitchen, but hey, he says, if it's not visible, if it's in the garage, it's not going to get used. It's got to be here. It's got to be stacked somewhere in my environment to make it as easy as possible. It's small. It's 5 minutes. He does it in his pajamas. He doesn't have to change. It's just right there. It has to be so incredibly small and so incredibly easy that it's impossible not to do. You don't have to do a full workout. Anything is better than nothing. And small wins can reignite your energy, especially if you start early, if you get your first win early. So start small and build momentum is number 1. Number 2, focus on energy boosting habits. Prioritize your sleep. That's going to be the number 1 thing. Your sleep hygiene, a consistent bedtime, no screens before bed, a light, a dark atmosphere, a very cool atmosphere. You can go into our master classes on sleep if you want to talk about this. It's very, very hard, but sometimes we know what to do. It's not watching that last Netflix show. It's not letting YouTube take you into those next videos. You have to spend a little bit of energy saying no, setting a boundary, identifying as a person that goes to bed at this time. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. Focus on energy boosting habits like eating balanced meals, not skipping meals, but having meals with protein, fiber, and healthy fats, well-balanced meals. Avoid energy draining foods like high, easy, digestible sugars, carbohydrates that can just give you that blood sugar spike, giving you a quick energy boost and then crash. And I'm not talking about all carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not bad. We know the ones that are energy draining sugars. Number 3, reevaluate and eliminate energy drains, things that drain your energy. Identify what's depleting you. Is it a toxic relationship? Excessive screen scrolling time? Is it your poor diet? Replace or minimize these where possible. Start small, focus on energy boosting habits, and reevaluate and eliminate energy drains. That should help you with your lack of energy. Challenge number 3, lack of clarity around priorities. Many people struggle to articulate just what truly matters to them. And without clear priorities, they waste time on low value activities or goals that don't align with your values. We've all had that day where we feel like we've just been moving and moving and moving, but we can't really pinpoint what we accomplished that day. Someone spending hours scrolling social media instead of pursuing a hobby that could give them more energy. Choosing work over family time without realizing the trade-off. Constantly saying, I need to work out, but then never making it happen. It's a challenge for most people because life often feels like it's happening to us rather than something that we are controlling or planning. We're reacting. We're going throughout our day just reacting to things. There's the fear of missing out, FOMO, or the guilt when choosing one priority of another. Some people say, just figure out your priorities. Why can't you just figure it out? Identifying true priorities requires deep reflection and effort. It's not a snap decision. It requires journaling. It requires thinking about it. It requires writing it down and then spending some time just reflecting on that and adjusting that and really dialing in what matters to you most. So 3 actionable tips. Perform a values audit. Write down the top 3 to 5 things that matter most to you. Is it your health? Is it your family? Is it your personal growth? Is it your finances? And really think about, if you put this on the top of your list, what is that leaving off? And is that thing, if I focus on it, really going to get me to what I actually want? And that brings us to number 2, set a North Star goal. Identify one big goal that aligns with your values. Maybe like running a half marathon if health is a priority, or being able to lift a certain weight, or being able to walk a certain distance hiking and be able to finish a certain hike. Just check how much time you spend daily on these things that are your priorities, and notice, does it match what you want? Adjust accordingly. Use it to guide your smaller decisions. All of these smaller decisions that I make throughout the day, are they helping me get to my North Star? And number 3, use a daily planner. Really, this does help. Each morning or each night, the night before your day, list your top 3 priorities for that day. Ask yourself, does this align with what matters most to me? How am I going to get these into my day? And then stay true to it. If you say you're going to do something, stick to it, because the more you say you're going to do something and the less it happens, the more that you prove to yourself that you can't trust yourself. Perform a values audit, set a North Star, and use a daily planner. That should help with your lack of clarity around priorities. Challenge number 4, the all or nothing mentality thinking. I see it all the time, more often than not. The belief that if you can't do something perfectly, it's not worth doing at all. This mindset creates paralysis and stops progress before it even starts. Some examples like, I don't have time for a full workout, so I'm just not going to work out at all. I ate one unhealthy meal today, so the whole day is ruined. I might as well just binge and eat everything. I don't have the perfect setup to start my side hustle, so I'll wait until I order this and I buy that and this happens and I'm ready for that. Perfectionism can be paralyzing. It happens to me all the time. It's easier to do nothing than have that risk of falling short. It reinforces feelings of failure and it leads to self-sabotage. Some people may say, like, just do it. Just do it. Stop being lazy. And while action is the goal, overcoming perfectionism requires addressing the fear of failure and learning to value progress over perfection. Progress. Even if you take 4 steps forward and 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, progress is progress. Perfection, you're still at the starting line. So 3 actionable tips here for all or nothing thinking. Adopt a good enough mindset. A good enough mindset. Embrace the mantra, something is better than nothing. A 10-minute walk beats no exercise at all. Number 2, set process goals instead of outcome goals. So focus on actions that you can control. Example, I'm going to walk 3 times this week rather than results like I want to lose 5 pounds this week. Set process goals instead of outcome goals. And number 3, track your small wins. This is huge. Write down even the smallest progress that you make. At the end of the day, write down as many wins as you can in your journal before you schedule in what you're going to do the next day. Seeing this momentum can really help motivate you to keep going. These are actionable steps that will help you with your all or nothing thinking. And the last challenge is guilt or comparison. People often compare themselves to others or feel guilty about not doing enough, leading to discouragement, self-criticism, and feeling bad for taking a rest day because others on social media maybe seem to just be no days off, grind, crush, do it harder. That's not going to help. Comparing your fitness journey to someone else's highlight reel, that's not going to help. You're seeing someone at their chapter 27 and you're still on chapter 1. Guilt for choosing self-care over other obligations, saying that, how can I take care of myself? I have kids, I have a job, I have to make sure that I take care of everything. But the old cliche saying, you can't fill others' cup when yours is empty. It's so true. A challenge for a lot of people, social media exacerbates comparison. Get off social media. If it's not helping, then remove it. Cultural norms sometimes frame self-care as selfish. That's not helping. Who cares what the culture says? If it's not making you better, if it's not helping you get to your goals, remove it. Some people might say, just stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison and guilt, these are deeply ingrained. And they require intentional effort to overcome. It's not that easy. So 3 actionable tips here for guilt or comparison. Limit your social media exposure. Really, this is a big one. Set boundaries around how much time you spend on social media platforms and literally unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate. You can cultivate and you can create your algorithm. What you spend the most time on, it shows you more of. What you like and share and comment and save, all of these things, that will show you more. Everyone thinks that the algorithms are evil and they want to show you just all the worst stuff, but it's actually only what you're spending your time on. I have curated my algorithm to show me fitness stuff. I like everything that I want to see more of. I save the different videos of different exercises and corrective exercises that I want to give to my clients, and it shows me more of that. Anytime I see something that I don't want on my social media, if I see war, if I see politics, if I see people fighting, all that kind of stuff, I hide it. I say, show me less of this, and I make sure that I never stay on it for more than a split second, and I quickly scroll down. You can create this algorithm, and it's very fast. You can change your algorithm in just a few days. So limit your social media exposure, but also curate what you want to see and spend time on and interact with what you want to see more of. Number 2, celebrate your unique journey. Write down your small wins. No matter how small, write them down daily. Remind yourself that everyone's circumstances and starting points are going to be different, and you are no different than anyone else. Number 3, reframe your self-care as a responsibility to the people that you love, to your job, to your family. Understand that taking care of yourself enables you to show up better for others. You have to reframe self-care as something that will amplify everything else in your life. Once you identify as someone that prioritizes self-care, you become someone that is better in all aspects of your life. So what are we going to do here to take control of our time? We're going to, number 1, audit our time. For 1 week, we're going to track how you're spending your time. Be honest. This can be really eye-opening. Once you see where your hours are going, identify the time wasters. Things like scrolling on social media, watching TV mindlessly. These don't have to disappear completely, but could they be trimmed down? Or could you stack something that will take you closer to your goal? When you scroll, you have to be sitting in a deep squat, or you have to be walking on a treadmill. When you're watching TV, you're down on the floor doing your mobility work. When you're on your phone calls, can you be walking around? How can you stack something that you want with time wasters or trim them down? Number 2, schedule what matters. Treat your priorities like appointments. If exercise or meal prep or family time is important to you, put it in your calendar, block it out like an appointment. Block out time for these activities and protect that time like it's a meeting with your boss. Number 3, start small. You don't need 2 hours a day to work out. A 10-minute walk is better than what you've been doing. A quick body weight routine. Setting an alarm on your phone for 45 minutes, and every 45 minutes that alarm goes off, you do 10 bodyweight squats in your chair and you get right back to work. All of that can make a huge difference over time if done consistently. Progress happens in small, consistent steps, not in all or nothing bursts. You might see a spike in going in the direction you want to go, but it will fizzle out fast. It's much better to take those small steps and make them habits and be consistent with them. Number 4, create systems for efficiency. Batch similar tasks together. For example, you can cook multiple meals at once and save time during the week trying to cook every single night. You can automate what you can, set reminders or use fitness apps, or even hire someone to help if it's within your means. You can establish routines to make habits automatic, like laying out workout clothes the night before so that as soon as you wake up, they're right there for you. Create systems for efficiency. When I go to the beach, I started off by just going to the beach as my self-care to spend some time out in nature, but then I started stacking it with meditation, with walking, with cold plunging, with listening to an audiobook of something that's going to help me grow. And it just stacked into this 1 hour time block that I get so much done, and it really makes me happy, and it gives me this recharge time. Number 5, reevaluate your commitments. Are you overcommitting to things that don't align with your goals? You have to learn to say no and really prioritize what matters with your goals. Freeing up even 30 minutes a day. Can you imagine if you did one thing 30 minutes every single day for the next year? What would that bring? You can find 30 minutes in your day. Stop making excuses for what you can't do. Stop looking at the things that are holding you back or obstacles. And yeah, they may be 100% real, but let's start focusing on the things that you can do with that 30 minutes, with that 5 minutes. Number 6, energy management. Time is only as good as the energy that you bring to it. So prioritize the things that give you energy. Sleep, hydration, movement. Movement is life. Motion is lotion. Fitness is medicine. All these things are going to ensure that you have the energy to make the most of your time. And now that we've talked about common challenges around time, around priorities, around having energy, I want to share a little strategy that has been a game changer for me. Habit stacking. Habit stacking is all about combining small, meaningful actions into a routine that become automatic over time. It's not about doing everything all at once. It's about starting small, mastering that thing, and then adding to it, creating this chain of actions that flows seamlessly. So the examples from my life, the beach routine where I added all those things, if I tried to do all those things at once at the very first time I did it, I would have failed. It would have been way too overwhelming. But by starting with just the one habit of getting to the beach, figuring out the place I wanted to go, finding the spot where it wouldn't take too much time to find parking, all that stuff. Once I found that, I mastered it. And then I just gradually started adding more. I created a routine that hits multiple health and wellness goals. And this routine requires the same amount of time, but it's infinitely more effective. It's a system that I look forward to, and it supports almost every aspect of my well-being. Another one that I have is my morning routine. Starting off my day on the right foot is one of the most important things that I can do. And some mornings I coach in the morning, so I can't do this, but some mornings I have off and I'm able to get this in. Some people may not have any mornings off, and maybe they have to create that by waking up a little early, but then not letting that affect your sleep. So there's a lot of things that go into this. But just like my beach routine, I didn't have my morning routine happen all at once. I started with just 20 minutes of red light therapy. Then I added meditation to that to clear my mind. Next came learning Spanish, or a personal goal of mine. I added tracking my biodata, so I would get my blood glucose in the morning. I would get my resting heart rate. I would check my blood pressure and my grip strength, all things that I track in a spreadsheet that help me see how my health is going throughout time. And then came coffee and morning sunlight and stretching in the hot tub to energize my body. And finally, I incorporated a cold plunge to finish the whole thing off. And that gave me so much energy to start the day. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it only took me about an hour to do all that. And that's mostly the hot tub took the longest. The other stuff was just 20 minutes. Each of these actions became a domino in my life. As soon as one domino tripped, It flowed effortlessly into the next domino and then the next. I don't rely on willpower, saying I wanted to do this. Oh, I got to do this. I didn't rely on decision-making fatigue where I have to decide, am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? It just was automatic. Even the parts that I don't always love, like the cold plunge, have become second nature because my brain and my body are trained to follow the system. When I stand at the edge of that pool, I could sit there for 5 minutes thinking, I don't really want to do this. Oh, I don't want to do this. But as soon as I finish this one, I go into this one and boom, I'm right in the cold. And by the time I'm in there, I have no time to think about if I wanted to do it or not. I just did it. Once these habits become consistent, the neural pathways in your brain, they start to strengthen, and it becomes harder not to do them than to do them. My nighttime routine is the same way. Ending the day intentionally is just as important as starting it intentionally. I needed a routine that I could wind down and prepare for the next day. So I started small. My first domino was taking a hot shower. I knew that if I took a hot shower, it would start to drop my body temperature and it would prepare me for bed. And then I added yin yoga stretching to help release tension. And then I started journaling and planning and prepping for the next day. And finally, I added drinking a nighttime tea to all of that. And some nights I have plenty of time where I can do the full routine. Other nights it gets really hectic and I only have time for the essentials. So I have 2 different nighttime routines, one of them where I have time, one of them where I'm in a rush. And the key here is flexibility. I focus on doing something rather than nothing. Even if it's an express version of my routine, it still reinforces the habit. And over time, those small somethings, they really do add up. So that's my current life. Let me ask you this. What would your dream life look like? Chances are it includes good health, strong relationships, and pursuing your passions, the ones that light you up, that give you energy, that don't drain it. But none of that is going to happen without intention. You are the CEO of your health and you're the CEO of your time. Every decision you make about how you spend your day is a vote for the life that you want or don't want. You're casting votes for the person that you want to be, or you're casting votes for the easy route, the route that everyone says I need to take. You're casting votes for the route that's going to get you exactly where you've been going. And while it's not easy, it's never going to be easy, it is always worth it. Remember, motivation is going to fade. It spikes, it drops just like any other emotion, but systems and priorities, they stay. When you build habits and routines around the things that truly matter, they become automatic. You won't have to rely on willpower, on decision fatigue, because your lifestyle will support your goals. Quick recap, actionable steps. Number 1, audit your time for 1 week and identify areas to improve. Number 2, schedule your priorities like appointments, non-negotiables, and protected time blocks. Number 3, start small. Something is always better than nothing, and the easier it is, the more likely you'll create a habit. Build systems to make your habits easier and more efficient. Once you have those habits in place, build a system and protect your energy so you can make the most of your time. And most importantly, remember that you are in control. You're in control. It's your responsibility. Life happens and challenges come up, but you always have the power to decide how you respond. And that's it, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this Mindset Monday episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Please share the knowledge that you gain with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. If this episode inspired you, please share it with a friend who could benefit from the information that we talked about today. To support this podcast and help it grow, please subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to and leave a review telling others how this podcast benefited you. Leave a comment too. That would be amazing. Leave a comment on this episode letting me know how you're incorporating the things that we talked about. It is a non-cost way to help get this important wellness content into more people's ears. Tag me on your social media stories at Living the Dream Podcast or at Coach Damien_SD and let us know how this episode benefited you. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what we got wrong. We want to know. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that would help your Living the Dream team that we can discuss on future episodes. I will be right here with you working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.